Good evening, Sanbonani. I know that some of you are aware that I do not have the gift of a loud voice. And so each time I try to speak loudly, I really do look angry. And that's exactly the reaction I please request from you, that when I look angry, please smile. I will not be long, as we have been discussing time in our corridor. I will not be long. I will speak by way of telegram. I know that Telegram is outmoded. You now have WhatsApp and things like that, but I will speak by way of Telegram. I want to predicate my commentary on the idea that actually history has got no eyes. History is blind, but somehow the historian can actually produce authoritative facts about history. It therefore means that we must take history with a grain of salt, because history is fundamentally his story. The second point is, well, there are many comments that one can address concerning the lecture of our elder, Dr. Pheko. There are really many, not least the Latin expressions, to which I will revert in another way. For the moment, I would like to focus on 2 points. Well, I did read the paper before, so I didn't look sleepy. I was thinking to make sure that it is the same paper. So I want to cite 1 point, which is at page 7, paragraph 5. It reads as follows: it was around Britain and whether or not actually Britain ultimately gave back South Africa. The comment goes as follows, I quote here, page 7, paragraph 5, "There was never any such change, and all the archives of the world can be searched in vain for an instrument of independence for South Africa from Britain." This was somewhat startling to me. I just want to read from some of the learned authors, in particular Professor Khan, who was commenting on the Constitution of 1961, to which Dr. Pheko referred. According to this learned author, let me quote a little bit. "It is now accepted that the Statute of Westminster," of course it's not Westminster, it's Westminster, 1931, "and the Statutes of Union Act, 1934, resulted in the abdication of the powers of the United Kingdom Parliament and cut the legal connection between Britain and South Africa. Confident that this was the position, the Union Parliament, in passing the Constitution Act, repealed the status of the Union Act, which had taken over as part of South African law. none of the provisions of the Statute of Westminster is repeated in the Constitution Act. To this extent, it can with justification be claimed that the old link with Britain has been cut. And this you will find in the text called the New Constitution, and the citation is from pages 12 to 13. This view among the legal scholars of conqueror South Africa is reaffirmed by Boysen and Van Wyk. This time it is their book in Afrikaans called Die 83 Grondwet. I will not cite except to tell you that it is pages 4 and 5 of the 83 Grondwet. I want to return to one other point that we find at page 4 of the text you were listening to. Permit me to cite one sentence. Equitable redistribution of land in this country is a matter of justice, truth, morality, and African national survival. This you have just heard. I find it quite problematical that we should have in this citation the word redistribution. In the present historical circumstances, redistribution is actually premature language. It is premature language. To put it a little bit strongly, I would like to suggest that redistribution is actually immoral. It is immoral because it does not take the ethical dimension to this issue seriously. Let me explain where I come from and why I say this. I trust you remember what I said about history. And history has lots of stories about Africa. One of the stories is that the Romans occupied part of this continent, the northern part, for 600 years. And you can see, if you travel in North Africa, vestiges of the Roman presence. After that, history also has a story, the story of the international law of colonization, going under the auspices of the doctrine of discovery. Well, this doctrine of discovery, as far as Africa is concerned, is crystallized in a document called Romanus Pontifex. In those days, the church, specifically the Roman Catholic Church, was, as you might be aware, the earthly and the heavenly ruler. And so, it also was able to confer to kings the divine right to be king, as you know. Alongside this, there was also licenses that this divinity issued in the names of the popes. And this license that I want to refer to, you will find it, of course, cited in Mudimbe's The Invention of Africa. But this license is called Romanus Pontifex, It was a license given to Portugal way back, more than 2 centuries before Van Riebeeck and his crew, without land in their boat, landed here. So 2 centuries before, there was this, and this is what I want to read out to you, so that you see why I find the word redistribution immoral. According to this document, which of course was a papal gift to Portugal, Portugal was given not only part of Africa, but the whole of Africa, mind you, without the knowledge and the consent of the peoples. It was not necessary for the people to know that Portugal actually owns them. And the wording that gave that is what I want to read to you. It reads as follows. The Romanus Pontifex of 1455 gave the kings of Portugal the right to dispossess and enslave Mohammedans and pagans. Dum diversas, there were many, they clearly specifies, I repeat, dum diversas, they were all in Latin. Latin was like English today. Dum diversas clearly specifies the right to do what? To invade, to conquer, to expel and fight. For those who doubt the words, they are also in Latin. Invadendi, to invade. And it is command. It is usive subjunctive. Invadendi, to invade. Concurrendi, conquer. Expunandi, debellandi. So, you see, it goes further. It says, it must do this to the Muslims, to the pagans, and other enemies of Christianity, wherever they may be. Christian kings could thus occupy pagan kingdoms, principalities, lordships, possessions, and dispossess them of their personal property, land, and whatever they might have. They also were given the right to put these peoples into perpetual slavery. Following upon the footsteps of his predecessor, Pope Alexander issued another, authorizing the overthrow of paganism and the establishment of Christian faith in all pagan nations. I'm sure reading from this, you will not doubt the conclusion. It is impossible to doubt the conclusion that God and the colonial conqueror do not rely on any constitution at all. In order to implement expropriation without compensation. They don't need that. They do not need that. So it is quite a puzzle to me to see how enslaved we are. We do not recognize the epistemicide of the right of conquest. The epistemicide of the right of conquest requires even the challenge to the legal paradigm that is here today. It requires. So you see, it is funny for us to keep our head, cracking our skulls. What does the Constitution say? Which Constitution allowed the Pope and the colonial Pope? You see, there is a problem. There is a problem. When he analyzed the independence trajectory of Africa, Ali Mazrui made a commentary in his Towards Pax Africana. One of his commentaries was that the independence of Africa is quite special because it is a transition from slavery by coercion to slavery by consent. So you can see that trying to find positive or negative clauses in the Constitution, trying to even find what the Constitution says, is already affirming Mazrui's position that we are slaves by consent. So, we must remember that actually one of the legal luminaries in the University of the Witwatersrand, Professor Thabo, at one time there was a book of essays written in his honor. He was old enough to say goodbye to the University of the Witwatersrand. So a book of essays was written in his honor. The title of the book is, in Latin, Fiat Justitia. It doesn't conclude the whole phrase. The whole phrase is Fiat Justitiam Ruat Caelum, meaning let justice be done even if the heavens may fall. So we have a clue of what can be done by the conquered peoples, not only of this country, but of Africa, which was given as a divine gift of land. I'm a dot. Divine gift of land? No. So we have a clue. The clue is justice must be done, even if the heavens will fall. Justice must be done. And so we must remember the moral and ethical imperative to overcome this epistemicide. Actually, Ngugi wa Thiong'o reminds us of this when he writes his own book that is well known to you, Decolonizing the Mind. We also have Kwasi Wiredu, who reminds us in his essay on the need for conceptual decolonization. He reminds us too, even and interestingly, a Portuguese scholar this time. See the links now. A Portuguese scholar, someone who historically is an heir to Romanus Pontifex. I saw him 2 weeks ago in his home country, and I reminded him of Romanus Pontifex. Anyway, his name is well known, it's Boaventura dos Santos. He also wrote earlier on a book called Epistemologies of the South. And the subtitle of the book is Justice Against Epistemicide. Is it really justice against epistemicide when we want to hold every day multiple sessions asking people, come and tell us what you think about the Constitution? What is that? Are we really acting against epistemicide? It looks like something is going wrong. And then lately, this year, he published another book, and it is called The End of the Cognitive Empire. So you can see that actually what is critical at this very moment is simply to ask one basic question. Let's forget the historians who were not there when the facts happened. Let us just ask one question. Since the constitution that prevails at the moment is totally devoid of the word Ubuntu, it of course means we are not there as a people. We are not there, even in philosophical terms. Our paradigm of constitution making is simply absent. Remember that in the 1993 post-Umbrel, the Ubuntu word was there. In 1996, everybody forgot that Ubuntu was at least there in 1993 as a footnote. Are we really in need of a psychologist to explain the collective amnesia? I don't think so. Something is wrong ethically. Something is wrong ethically. So my point is to talk the language of redistribution without addressing, first, the ethical issue of conquest in an unjust war. It's not just only conquest, it is conquest in an unjust war. So, this conquest in an unjust war persists, and its results are palpably present with us. So this is the first and the primary question to ask: to whom does the land belong? Sovereign title to territory. If we solve that, then we can come to the simple question of land redistribution. Before we determine to whom the land belongs, let us remember we simply want to remain in the captivity of epistemic and material enslavement, and that is not going to help us at all. There is no need to look at the Constitution. The Constitution does not make the people make the Constitution.